Episode 295. Don't move, Jules. Go down with Dad. The cries of the children led to a bigger uproar in the onlooking crowds. The children in other small planes heard Julianne crying and panicked, beginning to cry as well. Jules, don't be afraid. Don't move. Don't cry. Serena held the girl in her arms, whispering to comfort her. We will go down very quickly. Don't be afraid. She cried even louder, hugging her mother's arm tight. With such a move, the small plane that was crumbling shook a little. Serena was even more scared, shivering. She bit her lower lip and comforted her daughter. Don't move. Let's play a game. Julianne stopped crying, looking at Serena with wet eyes. Serena's smile was a bit stiff and her voice was trembling slightly. She whispered, Green light, red light. Not allowed to speak or move at red light. Julianne indeed became silent. Closing her eyes, she did not dare to move. It was what Seth had taught her. The blink of an eye was counted as moving. When playing the game, if you closed your eyes, you would not lose. Serena also did not dare to move. Eyes closed, she let the scared tears fall. What should she do? Were they going to die here today? Suddenly, there was another scream from the crowd, followed by chitter-chatter. Everyone saw that a dark gray figure had pushed himself through the crowd, and he did not hesitate to climb over the railing. He was very agile and stepped on a small plane, climbing along the branches connecting the small planes. The sound of the human body climbing over the hollow metal came close. Serena opened her eyes and looked down, but without turning her head. She could see the front, and the movement came from behind her. She didn't dare to turn her head and didn't dare to move. She held the child and suddenly heard a cry from the bottom. It's too dangerous! You can't go up! Is he crazy? Actually wanting to climb up? Who is this person? A park staff member? So bold! The noises were getting louder and louder. Henry was still playing with the two little boys. Vanessa was watching them in the back and turned to look at the noisy place. There were just too many people, and the big facilities blocked her sight. She saw nothing. What happened? Jeremy looked over there and then turned to look at Seth. Shall we check it out? Seth nodded and looked at Henry. Henry, too, was also feeling curious, so he gave them a small push from behind. Let's go see it. They walked over there, and he saw the crumbling little plane from afar. Seeing this scene, Henry got immediately scared and shouted, That is too dangerous! When he saw the person on the small plane, his expression changed immediately. Serena? Vanessa also looked up and saw it was actually Serena and Julianne. Her look changed dramatically, and she rushed over immediately, squeezing herself through the crowd and climbing over the railing. Vanessa stood under the facility and found that there was already someone on the top. That figure, that back. Wasn't that the man whom Serena was chasing at the convention center last time? Now, why had he appeared here? Not only Vanessa had doubts, but even Serena felt incredulous to see him. Jake gasped, cautiously grasped the branch, and whispered, Remove the child's seatbelt, lift her up, and hand her over to me. Serena heard this voice and was slightly stunned. Looking at him incredulously, she wanted to see through the pair of sunglasses and look at his eyes. Was it him? It was him! This voice, familiar to the bones, had followed her for 2 lifetimes. Over the years, it had been echoing in her dreams and memories, so clear and so familiar. Really, it was him! Serena forgot to breathe for a moment. She did not dare to move or touch him. She was so scared that if she reached out to touch him, he would disappear. Now, we have time, Jake whispered. There was a quiet fear in his voice. Move little by little and calm down. Hearing this voice again, Serena's mind was blank. She could only have one thought. It was him! It was him! He came! He had come to save them. However, Serena quickly reacted and carefully unbuckled the child's seatbelt. "Mom, you lost!" Julianne opened her eyes, her voice red and tender. With dried tears on her face, she was smiling. This little girl did not even know what danger she was in. Jake's heart felt a bit sore, and that went up into his eyes. It was the first time for him to get so close to his daughter. So close. After 4 years, he could finally look at his daughter face to face. She was so beautiful, like her mother. Jake calmed down and reached out to her. But as Serena made the move, the facility squeaked again. Lots of onlookers couldn't help screaming. For the first time, Serena felt that she was close to death. It was a real thriller, even scarier than her previous death. Her heart almost jumped out of her throat. But for some reason, Serena's move was very steady despite her numb and shivering body. This was also the first time Serena felt that she could actually be so calm. "Don't move, Jules. Go down with Dad." Dad. The word was like a stick knocking on his heart, so fierce and heavy, bringing unlimited impact and touch. His heart trembling, Jake felt that he couldn't stand it anymore. Even his hands were trembling in excitement. He whispered, "Don't." Julianne was lifted by her collar. Hearing the strange word Dad, she blinked. "Where's Dad?" "Here! Dad is here!" Jake pursed his lips and reached out. He took Jules over and shouted, "Someone, come and help!" Vanessa jumped up and down and waved at Jake on the ground. He came carefully toward the bottom, holding the little girl and slowly moving down. Vanessa immediately ran over, raising her hands and waving at Jake. He put the little girl down and said, "Follow Aunt Vanessa. I'm letting go now. 1, 2, jump." Julianne was quite smart and she understood what he meant. She went into the arms of Vanessa, laughing out loudly. She was enjoying this adventure. After making sure that her daughter was safe and sound, Serena finally let out a sigh of relief, and Jake carefully moved up toward her.